No,
we always called it demo.
Lore was.
Lore was the first like real studio. Like 2-inch tape.
Yeah. This
exactly.
was our
that
first.
was a warm up.
Yeah, this Lore was our first. Yeah, our first real record. And, it's funny that we played for a long time. I mean, we had like a demo. It was really a demo tape.
Mm-hmm.
But we played from like 92 to 96 with no recorded music. We just went and humped it out in bars and basements and wherever they'd have us. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are a few things. I remember calling Doug Derryberry because he had done Crash, I think, or I think he was
the one
the
before Crash,
or the one before Crash, Under the Table and Dreaming. Maybe he was the engineer for that. And then Dan Archer, who made Lore, had done Lawn Boy and Hunta, right, for Fish.
I think so.
Definitely
Lawn Boy.
Oh, well, I thought he definitely did. I thought he did the earlier of the two, which is Hunta, right?
Yeah, it is. But I think he might have done both. I know he did Lawn Boy there, but I'm not sure the whole history.
So it's this tiny studio in Burlington, and Doug was super nice, and we've been friends ever since. But it just, for a whole bunch of reasons, made sense to do it in Burlington. And so we had Dan Archer, who was, to us, like, he was kind of like meeting a legend. I felt like anyhow,
and a real mentor. I mean, he was the first person that I ever. Yeah, he just had such good ears. You'd sit there and listen to a playback, and he'd be like, that's clashing. And we'd be like, what? It sounds fine to us. He's like, no, it really doesn't. And he just had such a trained ear. I definitely felt I grew up a lot just by looking over his shoulder and seeing how he perceived music, how he heard it.
Realizing that I was playing D minor and you were playing D major.
I think it was some lick I had that had two notes, basically the equivalent of that. Two notes right next to each other. I was like, kind of sounds cool. He's like, okay, whatever you say.
And this was like Pro Tools was, if it was barely out.
I think we recorded that on 2-inch tape, and the next one I think we recorded on 2-inch tape, and then I think he dumped it into Pro Tools, but we didn't really do much editing or anything. He just had it for convenience. He had a computer, and he could deal with it easier. But yeah, Pro Tools existed, but it wasn't in use. That's for sure.
It was like the end of an era. He would have these moves on the board that he had to make.
Totally analog mixing.
And
couple razor splices on the tape, I can recall.
And I mean, there were lots of challenges with that. In that, like you said, I remember realizing, or him saying to me, you don't really have a part there. I was like, well, I've been, kind of strumming through it for 4 years, but you're right, there is no part.
Yeah, he definitely helped. He helped me understand what a producer is. I really didn't know exactly what a producer role is all about. He helped define that, but yeah, I was like, suggesting good parts and stuff that fit. And I remember he had some colorful terms for, I think, fuckish was his favorite.
Yeah.
That's where we got that one
from.
Like, it sounded a little fuckish,
a little
guys.
Fuckish, yeah.
Or a little touchy.
It's a little touchy.
And it'd just be us completely playing over each other, strumming, probably like what we were just doing 10 minutes ago. But
I remember him popping up. There were a couple of other lines I remember from him, I remember him, his hair would be all, he's like the mad professor. He reminds me a little, or the image of him back in the day reminded me a little of the guy from Back to the Future, the mad scientist, and he'd pop up from the board and his hair would be in his eyes. And I remember him popping up at one point and going, the kids are going to enjoy the beat.
Yep.
Which, and then another one that he said, I mean, there's
that one ended up in a song.
That one ended up in a song, yeah.
That's where that line comes from?
Westerly, it came from Archer.
He was kind of making fun of us, he's like, the kids are really going to enjoy the beat.
I really wish we'd it'd be cool if we had some video of that, because he is a character, and people in Vermont know him, people in Burlington know him. I mean, he really is he was not there anymore. He's on the West Coast now, but a real colorful character.
He is.
All his nicknames. Poppy.
Right. So he called us. We were like, I'm sure he called everybody that, but we were like, he knew he had the leverage in terms of age and wisdom. So he called the four of us Puppy all the time. He'd be like, Puppy, try it again. amongst those.
Oh my
The
gosh,
puppy was the G-rated one. There was some pretty X-rated stuff that he called us as well. And I'm trying to think. The other thing is with Lore, your brother came up with that name, right?
Yeah,
Steve.
Yep. He just emailed me or called or said, "Hey, I think you guys, I think it fits. Like, what do you think of the title Lore?" I was like, "Yeah, throw it up to the guys and see what they think." And it was an instant hit.
It worked.
On the
Yeah.
levels we wanted it to.
I think names are so important. Names of songs, names of bands, and for us, Strangefolk, and then having the album that said Lore, and being from Vermont, and sort of the storytelling songs. Right. It all worked together, and then and then we got that album art from Todd.
Yep.
Buddy
from Maine.
Another buddy from Maine. It's great days. I mean, I remember feeling just like we were about to unleash something on the world.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when it came out, and then WIZN in town, which was the big rock station, decided to pick up Lines and Circles and put it in heavy rotation. And that was, I don't even think it's the same anymore today. I mean, I guess it probably is, but just back then, getting on the radio, it was like 96, so.
Well, people still listen to
radio. The internet wasn't a thing, like
then,
iPods, none of that stuff existed really at all yet. It was coming, but so to get played in heavy rotation on radio, I saw immediately what the effect was, and we went from like doing pretty well at Club Toast, like maybe a couple hundred people. We'd maybe sell it out to like the line was all the way down the road and around the corner. And it was totally just solely from radio play. I was like, wow, that is a powerful thing.
It was commercial radio, so there was a AAA radio that's played us ever since. But at that time, they were a commercial rock station, and that was unusual for a local band. And this guy, Mike Luoma, who's still a friend and like a really interesting dude, just, I don't know, it just struck a chord with him, and he played it. But the thing I remember about that gig after we got all the radio play, and it was one of those things where we were actually starting to happen more in Boston and New York than we were in Burlington, our own hometown. As like people, like for sort of taking for granted what's in your own backyard, and it, and then that radio play happened and it popped. And we had been accustomed to a certain crowd reaction because we'd played from 4 people in a living room all the way up to a club, and people came with us, and they reacted to the music because they knew it and they knew us. And then there was this room full of people, and we were rocking as hard as we could, and they were just kind of staring at us because they only knew one song.
They were waiting for the big hit.
Yeah.
The place went crazy when we played it. But it was like we saw the small side of that. Just like, all right, everybody, those people are here just to hear this one song. Do we play it?
Thankfully, we never got radio play ever since.
So
it all worked out well.
Don't worry about it ever again.